So I recently learned that a friend moved from Oakland to Vermont, and I playfully asked in the message, "Are there any black people in Vermont?" She's not black. I didn't get an answer, so I decided to check. And according to the quick facts here, I'm not going to push the camera over, but oh, why not? Let's do that. Have a look with me. These, if I can line this up correctly, if you can see that the quick facts here, according to the census, are that census finds was least diverse part of nation. Can you read that? Am I lining that up correctly? Basically, to cut to the chase, even though racial diversity is inching higher in Vermont, as this report goes, blacks make up 1% of Vermonters. And then somebody else asked the question, are there any black people in Vermont? Wow. You would say, why is that so important? Well, I will tell you why. Because you want to know that when you go to a place, people are used to seeing you and therefore aren't going to treat you in little ways that are institutionally racist. Like, for example, if you go into a restaurant and they don't seat you where you would get the best service, they push you way at the back of the restaurant. Or if you're walking down the street, maybe someone who isn't used to seeing you, who is white, of course, would move an extra inch or two away from you. Or the classic, you can't get a taxi cab. Or you get the idea. I mean, I can go on and on and on with all of these examples that basically will add up to a person being rejected because they are dark, brown, like me. And, it's interesting that there are people who can just sort of travel and not even think about this sort of thing and not stop to consider that, hey, they don't live life like I do. I mean, I have to think twice before I go anywhere. That was a big issue with going to MIT, even to visit when I was coming up, because at that time, not now, Boston was, well, although some might disagree with me, accused of being very racist. And this was 1980. So there are some who would say, oh, it's still that way today. I haven't heard that, but then I haven't been to Boston in some time. I don't know. But that's Boston, that's Massachusetts, that's an urban area, and I would expect that doesn't apply to Vermont. Okay? Uh, again, but there's another thought here I want to add in before I close. And it's something that I've recognized. I think that even in places like Vermont, because I met someone on a plane who was from Vermont years ago, very lovely woman who was a professor, who invited me to visit. I think there are people who recognize that their areas, white people aren't recognize that their areas aren't diverse, and yet they welcome that you are there. And to those people I say hurrah and bravo. But still you wonder why those numbers persist in this day and age. It's interesting something to talk about. Are there any black people in Vermont? Not too many, but I would hope that the few that are there are welcomed by everyone. From what I read, that's the case.